And I am with Outreach and Mobilization, and at this time we will be working with the Municipal Candidate Forum, and we would like to introduce the candidates for the city of Ocala. We'll start with the mayor's race, and then we will have, is Mr. Wardell available? Is he here? Can you raise your hand? Okay, if he's here, we'll have him give his 5-minute stump speech since he is running unopposed. And then we will commence with the the District 2 City Council. So, Mayor Kent Guinn, would you please come forward? And his opponent, Ms. Barbara Fitos. And how we're going to run this, we're going to have both candidates give their 3-minute opening introductions, and then we will commence to a few questions and maybe 1 or 2 rebuttals, and then we will go into our next round of candidates. Mayor Glenn?
Thank you all, and thank you all for coming here today and holding this forum. So a lot of you in here know me, but I'll just introduce myself. So my name's Kent Guinn. I'm currently the mayor of Ocala, and I grew up here. I was adopted, and so lived here all but 4 months of my life. And so my mom and dad my mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad ran a little printing company and grew it. When he retired, had about 9 employees. So it was interesting to watch all the hard work he did. And as you get older, you look back and you think, wow, your parents done a lot to get the things that they got and do the things that they do, for you. So I was excited about that. I went to Oakcrest, Fort King, and then I graduated from Forest in '73. Spent some time, a couple of years at CF, and then went to Florida State for a little while. And came back home during the summer. Richard Andrews asked me if I wanted to be in an operations management program at Barnett Bank at the time, and I said, sure. And I'll go back, later on. Well, fell in love with my wife, and fast forward that, a couple of kids, and we had a good life. She's a school teacher, just retired after 30 years. She spent 5 years at Vanguard and 25 years at Osceola. Both our boys are 36 and 32. One lives in St. Pete. The other one lives in Tampa. Cameron is my youngest, and he works in a technology company. And then my older son, Michael, works for Special Ops as a science and technology advisor for them. So they're both doing good. Someday we maybe like to get them to come back and live in Ocala. I served 12 years on the city council, 8 years here now as mayor. Just enjoy, doing what I'm doing. I told someone this morning, I said, my priorities, are God, the citizens of this city, my family, my business, and I come last. Everything I did. That's why I just got out of the hospital, because I ran to South Ragan this morning about 8 o'clock and came here. So just kind of burning both ends of the candle at the same time. But anyway, yeah, you guys are city priority. You guys come first. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and know Barbara for a long time, and look forward to the dialogue in our race. All right, thank you.
Good morning. I'm Barbara Fitos, and many of you do know me in this room, and it's been an honor and a privilege to work with so many of you over the years. I'm a 40-plus year resident of Ocala, Marion County, and Ocala is my home. And it's personal with me because I've been able to raise my wonderful son, Joseph, as a single parent since he was 3 years old. This is my home, this is my community, this is my family. visit often, and we came to visit them often, but they were in Jersey, my sister was in Washington, D.C., so again, it was just Joseph and I here for all those years. I was blessed with a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful career, starting out in banking with the then Mid-State Federal, and many of you older Ocalans or seasoned Ocalans remember Mid-State Federal. I don't want to say older, that kind of thing. But was privileged to be involved in many, many civic, cultural, and community activities. It was the mantra of our new area executive when we merged with Mid-State Federal that said it's all about, when AmSouth merged with Mid-State Federal, it's all about paying your civic dues. And that phrase stuck with me. And there are so many of us in this room that are doing exactly that, day in and day out. Public service has been my calling for all of those years. I was also blessed to serve for years as your county commissioner for District 4, and those wonderful people, predominantly in the Ocala National Forest, were so community-oriented themselves in terms of taking care of their families, taking care of their neighbors, taking care of the elderly, taking care of the kids in those communities, and traveled that district every single month and brought all the sector experts that needed to be there that could address the concerns of those citizens out in the Ocala National Forest. And when I retired and when I was not reelected to the county commission, the president of the Forest Advisory Council said to me at the dinner they held in my honor, Barbara, you were the only one that ever gave us a voice. That's what I want to do as your next mayor, is to give all citizens of Marion County a voice so that all can be heard and all can be in dialogue with each other to make this a better place. Thank you.
And I'll have this mic. Okay, we can open the floor for questions. Are there any questions that everyone has index cards at their table to write down questions? Are there any questions that I could pick up?
Next time announce us with the cards.
Sorry. Does anyone have a question off the top of their head?
Lots of people.
Okay. Can you come here and speak into her? Bring it, the mic is on.
Mr. Mayor, I wanted to address something that has been weighing on my mind, and I probably a lot of other citizens in this room's mind. Let's talk about your recommendation for Confederate Memorial Day. I think you're aware that it's extremely painful to a lot of individuals. It is a hateful heritage, and it's actually already covered in the United States Federal Memorial Day. Veterans from any war are covered in that. Why did you see fit to make a special Confederate Memorial Day in this town in this day and age?
All right, well, thanks for the question. So maybe we can clear up some of the confusion. It wasn't mine. It was brought to me. I didn't write it. So when you say it was mine and I saw fit to do it, you know, that's actually not correct. So, you know, we did one, and Gerald Urkel did one in 2005. I did one in 2000, I think 10, 11, and I think maybe 14. And then the county did one 2 weeks before the one that I did. Not one word, zero, nothing, no complaints whatsoever about it, okay? I did this, they gave it to me. They said, would you do this? I said, sure, I've done it. You know, all those other years, I knew that the county did it 2 weeks prior. I did it. I sat down. As far as I was concerned, that was the end of it. It was over with. And some chose to make it a national, you know, news story. So if you didn't want the Confederate Memorial, you know, to be recognized, didn't do a very good job because it became a national news story and everyone knew about, you know, Confederate Memorial. So You know, that's just doing your job. I mean, people come to you with proclamations from time to time, not from time to time, all the time. They mail them to you, they email them to you, and says, you know, would you do this? It might be, you know, would you name the month of February Butterflies and Rainbow Week? And, you know, we're going to pass on that. Or is there going to be anybody there to get the proclamation? So, you know, those are all things you look at, but it wasn't my proclamation. Thank you.
Ms. Fitos, rebuttal, please.
Thank you. I found the proclamation totally ill-advised, and I will stick by that stipulation. My understanding that proclamations are issued under the signature of the mayor, and the mayor has the ability to say yay or nay to any proclamation. So, in this case, the answer was yes. In the case, for example, of the proclamation to declare Ocala a city of peace, the answer was resoundingly no. So it is the prerogative of the mayor to approve or disapprove any proclamation that's presented to him by any constituent or any group of citizens. So, but I will stand by my position that that type of proclamation was ill-advised because it adds to the divisiveness in our community. And we have to be more inclusive of all of our citizens, not just certain ones.
Well, can I just respond to that? So when you
1 minute.
say,
1 minute rebuttal.
Sorry.
1 minute rebuttal.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So when you say everyone, inclusive, you mean everyone except for them, right?
You have to filter what the requests are. It's not just a blanket yes to anyone or a blanket no to anyone. If the situation is such that a significant group of the population will be offended, I have an issue with that. I have an issue with that. And that is no reflection on the integrity of the request from the Daughters of the Confederacy. They have their position as well, but you have to weigh it in the balance of the overall citizenry of this county.
I'm sorry, we have to go on. A question from the floor. As a mother of 3 boys who are aware of the leaders in the community and as a social worker, how do you see your role as a model for all of our diverse array of children? Ms. Fitos, would you go first?
Thank you. Yes. The public service, the role of mayor has very specific duties and responsibilities, traditionally or most decidedly in charge of the police department. And of course that can have a direct influence on our youth and our relationships with our youth, as Cindy just wonderfully outlined in the programs that Circle Up is doing relative to youth and police. Those can be very, 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 very specific avenues. But again, the role of mayor is also responsible for making sure all city ordinances are adhered to, et cetera, et cetera. But more importantly, the role of mayor, the office of mayor, has a bully pulpit and can be engaged in that role in creating dialogue, in creating situations that bring people together on all fronts. I've been blessed to work in all 3 sectors of this community in terms of the business sector, the not-for-profit sector, and the public sector. And the integration of all of those sectors the mayor's office can be the focal point for all of that, to enhance the dialogue, to bring forward the dialogue, especially as it relates to our youth, because they are our future. We cannot neglect nor ignore the development of our youth in this community.
Thank you, Ms. Fitos. Would you like to answer the question, Mayor?
Sure, yes, ma'am. So, you know, Barbara's right. I mean, you know, a lot of the times, you know, you do have a bully pulpit, and you do get to meet with young boys and girls, and that's one of the greatest things about for me about being the mayor is interaction with our youth. You know, one of the things I do, I got invited, and I've gone multiple times, both the women's and the men's correctional institution, and one of the things I say when I'm out there, I said, look, I said, there's no mayor that's going to chase you any harder to catch you and lock you up and put you in here. And they're like, whoa. And I said, but by the same token, I'm no one that's going to work any harder to make sure when you get out of here that you don't ever come back. And I said, I do that through Blaine Witt, which has a program called Extreme Solutions. Well, one of the things we talk about, and I talked about after that, I thought, well, why aren't we working just as hard to make sure no one ever comes here in the first place? You know, there's, you know, we see these kids at Parkside, you know, Spring Manor, you know, all over the place that, you know, when I look at them and I look at them, I've got 11-year-olds and 12-year-olds stealing cars, and I look in their eyes when they're sitting in that interview room back there, and I see some hope. There's some hope there somewhere. And, you know, the program that the lady was speaking about earlier, you know, those are great ideas for situations like that with 11 and 12-year-olds.
Thank you, Mayor.
You know,
Thank you, Mayor.
I'm sorry.
Next question. As mayor, would you commit to having police officers participate in monthly activities similar to the prior speaker described, police officers interacting with students? That question for Mayor Guinn.
Yes, ma'am, you know, to a certain extent. You know, I don't have a problem with our officers sitting down with young boys and girls, you know, and having those discussions. So yes.
Ms. Fitos, same question.
Thank you. We need to enhance the idea and concept of community policing in Ocala. Those monthly meetings of all peoples, all citizens from all different neighborhoods in this community must occur. The success I had in the Ocala National Forest, there are 6 wonderfully different community groups, wonderfully diverse community groups out there. We met with them monthly, and in every case, there was always a sheriff's deputy or someone from that area, from law enforcement present. And the ability to have that dialogue with all of our neighbors and citizens, I think, is going to be essential. I don't believe we're doing enough of that today, and I will make that a priority in terms of enhancing the dialogue as far as community policing between our citizens in all neighborhoods and our police department, who have an extraordinary job to do because of the number of citizens that are here from Marion County that live and work here on a daily basis. It just enhances the population that they have to deal with. So again, helping them make their job easier and better and enhance that dialogue.
Thank you, Ms. Fitos. Ms. Fitos, this question. The mayor appoints the police chief and as an influence on police department issues. What is your position on consolidation of the Ocala Police Department or any part of it, such as emergency communications with county level government?
Okay. We dealt with consolidation when I sat on the county commission in terms of the emergency medical services. The EMSA system was going away, the funding sources had disappeared, so the idea was to integrate the emergency medical services, the ambulance services, under the auspices of the county and the fire rescue. That was a very successful event, not without its difficulties, not without its controversies, but again, that was accomplished successfully. The city of Ocala, the city of Bellevue, the city of, I think Dunellen has now integrated, but they have their own police departments, and the Ocala as the county seat, there is a place for that. The question that is before City Council today is the question of whether or not the city of Ocala leaves the 911 consolidated services, which is now under the auspices of the county. If there are systemic issues with the 911 service, we need to address those at the county level, and all players at the table have to have a voice in all of that. The City Council is wrestling with that, hopes to have a decision sometime in September. We need to be sure that going our separate ways is the right answer for the citizens of Ocala in terms of response time, et cetera.
Thank you, Ms. Fitos. Mayor Guinn,
Yes, ma'am.
would you like me to repeat the question?
Pardon me?
Would you like me to?
Ma'am, I got
Okay.
it. So, yeah, I mean, Barbara was on county commission, we were going through that, and, now, I would keep, what we've got here and add the, fire department, and, Chief Williams, when he was here, walked me through the comm center, right back here. Since there's a wall here, we can open it up and put fire here. With all those calls that are together, I mean, those folks are sitting there, talking to each other. They know where the police are, the fire, they're on the same, a lot of times the same scene. It would just make sense to me. I mean, there are just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that have been wasted with that relationship. We've got calls now that are going to the wrong address. Instead of going to Northwest 34th Street, they're going to Southeast 34th Street or Southwest. It's not working. Fitos is right. We do need to sit down at the table and iron this out. The county's had, I think what it is, 8 years to fix it. They haven't fixed it. I talked to a consultant the other day. He, I think, came to the conclusion what you're going to see is you're going to see police and fire over there, and you're going to see the sheriff, which Sheriff Boyd mentioned the other day. He wanted to control it, and you'll see county fire, sheriff, Donnell, and Bellevue, comm center there.
Thank you, Mayor Guinn. This question is for you, Mayor Guinn. Speak to the unique knowledge of District 2 as it relates to discrimination history. And how do you feel about monuments to traditional underserved groups such as those we are lynched in the Marion County?
I'm sorry, say the last thing again.
How do you feel about monuments to traditionally underserved groups such as those that we have here lynched in Marion County?
Lynched in
As
Marion
you,
County.
as you understand, Bridget's project is doing a lynching memorial.
Right.
We're trying to put that through here in Marion County.
And you were working with the county commission on
We're
that?
working with the city of Ocala, Parks and Rec, and we are looking to,
The county parks and rec.
I'm sorry, it's the
Yes.
Racial Harmony Task Force,
That's it.
forgive me.
Yeah,
We're looking to work with the city commissioner
Sure.
and the city council.
I have no problem with that.
Would you speak to it, please?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Would you speak to the first part of the question?
About memorials?
No. The first part of the question was, speak to the unique knowledge of District 2 as it relates to discrimination history.
Okay. Well, obviously, you're talking about West Ocala?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's, it's been underserved, from, day one. I mean, it's, got a lot of issues. We've done a lot of work. We're spending right now, millions and millions of dollars. We had a little bus tour not long ago, talking about the progress that we've made over there. We're building a community center. I think spending $10.5 million over there on the community center. We're doing some other things. We're doing a lot of things to, restore West Ocala. One of the things that I did, how many know Patrick Hadley in this room? Patrick and I sat in my business office and said, you know what? Patrick said, what can we do to do something that's not just a program that'll make a difference? We came up with the enterprise zone, and it was specifically for jobs in West Ocala. People like FedEx, AutoZone took advantage of that and got a lot of tax credits from that. And that was just two guys that cared about Ocala, trying to do something to make Ocala better. That didn't look like.
Or the discrimination that has happened in the past, and while there have been inroads, there is still a systemic philosophy, I believe, that underlies a lot of the things that are happening in this city that continue to underserve that population of District 2. And I would commit to you that We as city council, as the mayor's office, we need to represent all of our citizens and make sure all of our citizens have an equal voice. And at times, that voice from District 2 has not been heard nor well served.
Thank you, Ms. Fitos. One last question for both of you, and then we need to wrap up and get to our city council candidates. What initiatives will you as mayor put forth in the coming years?
Okay, thank you. This city has seen some tremendous successes over the last several years, the vibrancy of our downtown, et cetera. But there are still challenges and additional opportunities that we need to take advantage of and move forward, move the needle forward even further than it already has. The chief of police is working very, very diligently with the opioid and heroin task force, for example. Marvelous program yesterday, celebrating the awareness month, that is the month of August, those lunch and learns. It was a packed audience there yesterday. And so those dialogues will need to continue and will need to have the emphasis that it requires. Homelessness, we are dealing with the results, for example, of the Public Policy Institute study on homelessness that has some serious recommendations about how our governance models work so that we can make sure that all of the services being provided are adequate. The same holds true for affordable housing. We must make sure that we do a better job of having more affordable housing within the city limits. There are some projects going on right now that have a 20% minimum, that those projects must have a minimum of 20% affordable units. That's a wonderful, wonderful start, but that has to happen more frequently. So
Thank you, Ms.
my commitment.
Fitos, thank you. Mayor Guinn?
Yes, ma'am. One program I think you saw come out the other day, and it was an idea that came from Parkside, sitting around with a group of residents, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. We plan on instituting that here. There's a group out of Tampa that leads that program. We're in their district. Boys and Girls Club is struggling right now. We are the city, working with them, trying to help them, rebuild that program. I think, like I said earlier, we got to get that generation of kids so that we save them, so that we're not 20 years from now, chasing them and arresting them. But I think there's a lot of hope through the schools and a variety of other things, partnering with them, doing a lot of great things. So those are things that I plan on doing as far as youth is concerned.
Thank you, Mayor Guinn. Thank you, Barbara Fitos.